Today I'm going to answer the 7 most common questions we get asked by international students and professionals looking for a job in the UK. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Read English, here to provide the best source of information for international students and professionals who want to work in the UK. Welcome to the New Look channel and to our new studio. The coat is on because the studio is a little bit chilly this morning. Sorry that we haven't put out any new content for you guys recently. We've been super busy doing so many exciting things and we're really looking forward to serving you in 2022. So to kick off the new look for the channel and the fact that we're really just going to be concentrating on the issues, comments, concerns and questions from international students in particular who want to work in the UK, I wanted to take the time to answer the 7 most common questions that we get asked by international students. Question 1, can I apply for a Tier 2 visa outside of the UK? This is a really common question from students who have studied and are now back in their resident country, and they will send us a message saying, please can you help me, but I'm actually not based in the UK anymore. I finished my Masters in the UK and I'm now back at home. I'm applying for lots of jobs in the UK, but I keep getting rejected. The simple answer is yes, you can. But the long answer is it is incredibly unlikely to be sponsored for a Tier 2 or skilled worker visa from your home country. You need to be here in the UK. And our standard response, though it can be a little bit difficult to hear, is to say, look, if you have the opportunity, do come back and study. Do take advantage of the graduate route, and this time when you come, make sure that you start applying for jobs earlier, because it is a really thankless task to be sitting there day after day, week after week, trying to apply for jobs in the UK. And the simple reason why you can't get one is because obviously they're going to be looking for people who are based within the country. It can be a slightly different story for professionals, particularly those who've got at least 3 to 5 years working experience, but it's still very difficult and it isn't something that we would recommend. We would always say to you, try to be here in the UK under a study visa. Question 2, will I get employed under the new graduate route? And the new graduate route, which came around earlier this year and has been going since July the 1st, is a real godsend for international students. Now, I've been providing coaching consulting since 2013. I remember the really dark days under Theresa May when it felt like students were just basically being told to come here, pay money to study and then go home as quickly as possible, and really felt like they weren't wanted. And one thing that I've been really heartened by is that there are more and more Indian students coming to the UK, because we really lost a lot of respect from India for the stance that we had, and really we're attracting a lot of phenomenal global talent. The graduate route, in short, is an opportunity for you to stay and work in the UK for 2 years under the graduate route. Now, what are the problems with that when you're applying for a graduate scheme? Well, first of all, most graduate schemes are for 3 years and not for 2 years. So the graduate route wouldn't actually extend to include the full term of your training contract. Say, for example, a common job that we deal with is an audit position to become an ACA trained auditor at one of the big 4, which is PwC, Deloitte, EY and KPMG. You wouldn't actually be able to complete your training contract. So what does that mean for you? Well, there are a few things to think about with this. First of all, employers have always been historically very slow for adjusting to regulatory change. It's always definitely a good idea for you to ask that question to them directly, whether that be via phone or via email. It does give employers a lot of opportunity to take somebody on, essentially to trial them. I know that we've had a lot of conversations recently with students who said, well, I just want to get a skilled worker visa because the graduate route doesn't contribute towards indefinite leave to remain and eventually permanent residency. But one way to think about it is that you need to probably provide the information to the employers, particularly the smaller ones. And I'm talking about companies that may be massive, but really don't have any idea about the graduate route. Just to explain, actually, I'm just like a home student. You can employ me straight away. I don't need to get sponsored. I can stay and work in the UK. And then potentially, should I be a good candidate, would you then be willing to sponsor me into this role? How that's going to work for bigger companies honestly remains to be seen. We generally tend to see the adjustments will fall in the next graduate season. So we might see some companies' response or changes. PwC always tend to be ahead of the curve because their immigration team is the best, in my eyes, in the UK, and they deal with a lot of the large employers in helping them process immigration requests for international students and professionals. You'll notice that PwC is one of the few websites that actually say whether they have the right to sponsor for this particular role rather than as a company. But it remains to be seen about the impact of the graduate route. I think the onus still, unfortunately, is on the student themselves to educate their employer and just say, hey, did you know I don't actually need to get sponsored? You don't need to get me a visa. I can just apply for this, show you this thing and get working straight away. So that one is still very much work in progress. Question 3, how hard is it really to get a job in the UK as an international student? Now, a lot of students think about this before they come to the UK, particularly if they're choosing between the US, Canada, or Australia, and actually increasingly other countries as well, like Germany, Holland, Denmark. There are a lot of other countries who are trying to grab the international student pie, because of course international students are incredibly lucrative. In the UK alone, they represent £20 billion gross value added. So when we look at the statistics, and we've got that, if you haven't already got it, be sure to download our free ebook, which is the 7 steps to get hired, which is specifically designed for international students. And we give that a figure of roughly 3.5% of students. And as a hard number, it's about 4,000 international students a year. Now those data is on a lag, but how hard is it? It's bloody hard. I mean, when you think about the fact that our students who come to us and are now our premium clients, and we take a very small number each year, they pay us a hefty 4-figure fee, and it still takes them about 5 to 6 months. Things have been running longer due to COVID. We have seen someone get job at, a really good job. So we're talking about 30,000 plus a year at a top firm in the caliber of kind of Goldman Sachs or EY, and do that in about 3 months. But it really is quite hard graft, and it's something to recognize that if you're wanting to find a job in the UK, it is going to take a significant period of time, and also that you are going to need to engage in multiple feedback loops. What do I mean by that? So you're going to apply, get rejected, make adjustments, CVs, cover letters, online tests, interviews and assessment centres. This is all a fairly lengthy process with multiple variables involved. For example, how long the company takes, what the UK economy is like, any kind of changing regulations around health and safety to do with COVID-19 and all the variants that we've seen. There's a lot of things to take into account. So I would say it's difficult, but certainly it's not impossible. We have plenty of success stories ourselves. Plenty of success stories exist in the world. If you have a couple of thousand connections on LinkedIn, and I regularly see stories from international students, but it is hard and it is rare, and it does require a real high level of persistence and determination. One thing I'd say is that I'm still in contact with clients who I worked with in 2014. And even though they're now at top investment banks, professional services, wherever they are, they still say it is the hardest thing that they have ever done, is find a job here in the UK as an international student. So recognizing the enormity of that task should help you to modify your action plan, your strategy, what it is that you're willing to do. And of course, if you are looking for somebody to be your guide and to help you step by step, then you can just go to jobreadyenglish.com and submit us an inquiry. Sales pitch over. Question 4, can I apply from outside the UK for jobs in the UK? This is kind of related to question 1, but it's a really common mistake. I know that a lot of people who watch this channel either aren't in the UK or have studied and have since gone home. The short answer for me is probably not. I am yet to come across a successful case where somebody has actually gone and persistently applied for jobs and then come and worked in the UK. And I'm talking about a highly skilled professional job. The reason being is just really simple. It's just geography. If you're applying for a job and you're based in Pune in India, they're not going to give you the job because they're going to see where you are. Like, yes, you could give a UK address and you could fly over. I've had clients fly from all around the world back into the UK to have an interview or an assessment centre, but it still doesn't change the fact that when you get that job contract, it is dependent upon you being able to successfully apply for a skilled worker visa or a tier 2 visa. And if you're under a visa like a 6-month visitor visa, if you don't even have a visa, then they're not going to be able to apply for you. They're not going to do an out-of-country application because that changes the salary and the requirements that are dependent upon that job. And essentially, if it's really difficult for the employer, they're not going to do it because they're going to go to the place of least resistance, unless you're talking about an incredibly skilled job with a very small talent pool of resources. Question 5. A company is on the sponsor list but won't sponsor me. Why is that? So this is a super common question. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe to sponsoredtier2.com. That is a free web app where you can sift and sort the tier 2 sponsor list. You can also get a free email sent out to you twice a week about new sponsors that have been added. You can see sponsors that have been removed. You can also get links directly to the sponsor's website, sift and sort by location and also industry. It's a fantastic free web application which we produce to be really helpful to this community. And just so you know, we've got some really exciting things in store with that particular app. We're going to be updating it and improving it in Q1 2022, and it's absolutely going to blow your mind. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to you. The short answer of this, if you want to know a little bit more or in depth, then you should look up a video by us called The 3 Levels of Sponsorship. This is where I really go in and answer this question in depth. But the answer is simple. Just because somebody has a sponsorship license doesn't mean that they are actively sponsoring, have enough certificates of sponsorship which they need to apply to the Home Office every year, or even that they are sponsoring for that particular role. A really important thing to bear in mind, though it can be frustrating, is not to think that employers are purposely discriminating against you, that they have anything against you. It's just simply a case of supply and demand, and it may be that they have earmarked those certificates of sponsorship for a different department, for senior level executives, or they're just not sponsoring because they have enough staff in-house. What I'd say is make sure to keep a list. That's exactly what we do with our clients. We know of a lot of big companies on the sponsorship list who don't actively sponsor international students. And the other thing to bear in mind is it does change. So that's the difficulty sometimes with this marketplace, is that you have variables that are changing and companies not disclosing that information. Question 6. When should I start looking for a job when I get to the UK? Now, if you're watching this as a student right now, whether you be a master's or a bachelor student, I urge you to really listen to what I'm saying. You should start applying for a job as soon as possible. As soon as you get into the UK, if you make sure you download the 7 Steps to Get Hired ebook. If you need some more help from professionals, then you can go to jobreadyenglish.com and submit a form to us. But please start as soon as possible, because generally when students arrive in September, it is the start of the graduate application season. And in our experience, September to December is probably the best time to get a job. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting a whole 12 months, and then you're all of a sudden going to think, am I too late? Or you're going to start applying in the 2nd or 3rd term. I realize this is really difficult because you're trying to blend into a new culture, getting used to a new language, and also you're missing your friends and family at home terribly. But if you can, you should make sure that you come with a plan, that you know exactly what you're doing, and you're setting aside a little bit of time each week to just keep chipping away at it, keep walking one step up the mountain. Because if you leave it too late, then you're bound to be really disappointed and frustrated. So again, start looking for a job as soon as you get to the UK. Question 7, can I work part-time in the UK as I study? Of course you can, and your university will tell you that. You can work 20 hours a week during term time and full-time in your school holidays. And that's definitely something to look out for, that a job where you can be getting some relevant experience. And for me, most of all, if you can be putting the skills that you're learning in university into practice, never be ashamed of the job that you do. Very often I speak to students and they're like, oh, I don't want to put that on my CV because I'm a waiter or I worked at Starbucks. Look, my first job was cooking burgers at KFC, and I'm really proud of that because it taught me about turning up on time, working as part of a team, being disciplined, learning the value of money, and also dealing with adversity and conflict with some people who could be very difficult. And I am very proud to share that with you and with anybody else who listen. I will never be ashamed of the fact that I have a remorseless immigrant work ethic, and I think that's something that I would encourage you to have as well. Just think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and whether it can serve a dual purpose, i.e. to improve your English, to put your skills into practice, to learn from a super valuable person, to gain experience. Don't, if you can, do a job just for the sake of doing a job. I think there is quite a lot of opportunities out there for students, and if you can't do something, volunteer, join a society and do something which serves a due purpose. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know that we're also going to be chopping it up, so we've got each of the individual questions there to ask. We're going to be coming at you over the next coming weeks and months and answering every question that you have. If there's a question I've missed or a comment that you want to make, please drop it down below. Help us to become the biggest and best source of information for international students in the UK. And I will see you on the other side. Bye.